Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday.
Whoa. You are hella fucking loud, and I don't even know if it's using your right microphone or not. I don't know. It's so distorted.
What? Okay, one moment.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Okay, can you still hear me?
You're good now. You're good.
Okay, I didn't do so I didn't do anything.
Wait,
I just went.
You actually still kind of sound loud. I turned you down by 50%. You still kind of sound almost a bit distorted.
That's super weird because I just went into my Discord and went to my settings and tested the mic. You know, you can click it and you can hear yourself back.
Yeah. All right.
And sounded.
I'll just turn you down more.
Yeah. I'm gonna check one more time. Yeah.
All right. Hey, the stream's saying you're not loud on their end. Then hey.
Yeah, that's super weird. I don't know. Maybe it's your interface did some backflippy shit or something at some point. That's weird. Yeah. Either way, as long as you don't deafen yourself, that's good.
I'm good.
Let's set. That's okay. Where am I at now? We're good. Yes. Amazing. There we go. There we go. We're back on track. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Thursday. It is February the 29th. It's a leap year. 2024, another technical podcast. Glad you could join us today. Got another banger. It's been a couple weeks. We were absent for a couple of weeks. The first week, it was Jeff's power didn't want to stay on. And then did you ever find out what that was related to? Because we didn't have any crazy weather or anything at the time.
I think there was, bro, I don't know. I couldn't fucking tell you, but it was a hot mess.
And then the week after, of course, was Kai's 5th.
Yeah.
5th birthday. Big day. Big day for a big boy. 5 years old, making me feel old in the process. But yeah, now we're back. We've got, at least the first week, nothing happened. Last week, there was some stuff. So I cherry picked, only the important stuff from last week. Or from the week that we missed before, and then of course leading up to this podcast. On Mr. Black's end, it looks like there's a lot, but most of this is the quick news section where I literally just read off a line just to get people caught up. But before we get started, of course, the most important question of the week, Mr. Black, how's your week?
Busy.
Busy guy this week. 2 whole days without being on RP. You must be literally dying inside.
Not really. Not really, but yeah.
Getting away to do some housekeeping, so to speak.
Yeah, I did a bunch of shit. I had to get a new washer and dryer, so I did that yesterday. And is
that for you or for a unit?
Oh, for here. Yeah, for here. I have no idea what the fuck I installed. Anyway, but yeah, no, I did that yesterday. Fuck, man, it's just a bunch of shit, dude.
It's that time of year.
It's that time of the year. I'm getting all my tax stuff ready because I got to see my accountant on Monday. I cleaned up all down here. It's all usually pretty clean, but dude, I've been streaming so much that over the last over 2 months, I quite literally just neglected every part of my life, and the last 48 hours have just been me playing catch up.
Yep.
So it's been a productive 48 hours, but yeah, it's not even like I get to really enjoy a break. It's just it's just a different type of work, a different type of catching up, a lot of real estate stuff, some other things going on. But I mean, I'm not bitching. I mean, it's good to be busy. Good.
Oh, absolutely. It's a good busy.
But I've been busy, and then next week I'm flying out to Miami. Then I'll be out there for only a few days. I'm going with Mr. Miyagi. It's his big birthday, so we're gonna go out to Miami and live it up.
Welcome to Miami. If you don't play that song at least one time while you're there,
guaranteed. That's guaranteed. I'm sure I'll hear it. There's probably,
Dude,
I'll probably be like,
come off the plane and just turn on your phone and have everyone else listen to it. Be that asshole in public where you're not actually listening to it on your headphones and just turn that shit on. That sounds good. It sounds good. I get to wait a little longer than you to start my taxes, and I will absolutely be procrastinating that for as long as humanly possible. I don't even want to look at it. I am in 100% like head in the sand on taxes for this year. Just get through, survive. So I will look at it later. For now, I get to.
You would look at what I have to do during tax year, and you would literally go, no. That's actually
I'm good.
like it's actually fucking insane. It's actually insane.
Especially with some of the stuff you've added to your list here in the last few years.
There's so much shit that like I that's why I start so early.
You got to, yeah.
I have to. If I leave all this last minute,
you're fucked.
No, I'm fucked. So anyway, yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
No. So I don't have that. I've just been the last couple of days. I've been over at Dad's helping him do the reno work in the kitchen. He was at a point where there was some stuff being done that needed a second pair of hands, and so I just took a couple of days off and went and spent the whole day. Got there, took him to work, and then went to Dad's and just did a full day there for a couple of days, and then just chilled in the evening. And then otherwise, just that's pretty much it. I've been playing Last Epoch on stream. I don't get to do that anymore because as of today, as we'll be discussing to some small degree later on, and by discussing I mean I'll mention it again. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth launches today, and so I get to let's just say experience that.
There you go.
Next, experience that. But Last Epoch was good. The launch was rough. It was one of those times where apparently they had the old meme where everyone just says, why don't you just buy more servers? Everyone is trying to get online. And obviously buying servers isn't something that just fixes problems all the time, but in this instance they actually had a lot of server capacity. The problem was some other software related thing or service related thing between them and the servers that only showed up after 200,000 people were trying to access the game at the same time. So I'd say the first day or two were really rough. I still got in and played. It was wonky. Like it took a while to log in or there was like some downtimes, but I still got in and played a lot. And then in the last couple of days I played it, it's been basically fine. I haven't had any issues just playing it nonstop, no issues at all, and it's been really fun. So I can recommend that if you're into ARPGs for sure. And that's been about it. Just waiting to see what kind of the road bullshit I'm gonna have to put up with tonight because our temperature here is going from +9 this morning and hurricane force winds to -11 and hurricane force winds. So I'm just going to assume now.
I couldn't even go to the gym today. I woke up, the gym was out of power, everything was fucked. I'm like, all right, I'm going back to sleep, man. I'm going right back to sleep. Fuck this.
That was like when I was driving him into work. The lights were out everywhere in terms of like the like intersection lights and shit. Like so, everyone was like a 4-way stop, and ain't nobody know how to do a fucking 4-way stop. I don't know why it's so difficult for people. People seem to remember
because they don't pay attention. That's the problem.
Yes,
they don't even know who got to the intersection first. They have no idea. It's like Russian roulette. You just go and hope nobody else goes, and that's just that.
That's exactly what it's like. And then for some people, I feel like they remember the rules where it's like first come first serve is like the step one. And if people seem to have forgotten, who got there, then it's supposed to be the person to your left goes, and then the cycle begins. People seem to forget that second half of the fucking rule set and just go with whoever gets there first. And when they don't know who got there first, like you said, it's just it's complete gamble. And oh my God, the intersection on Joe Howe where Dutch Village Road branches off, like that one there, the lights were out there. And I there was like they're on the border of about 4 accidents and like in like 15 seconds in that intersection from 4-way stopping because people were completely fucked. Like I was 5 cars back and I was still able to keep track of who the fuck was getting there first, and people were just darting out and getting around. There were people like honking horns like crazy, S steering around people. One dude when I was the next car in line and I was waiting, and a guy to my left went when he shouldn't have, and the guy coming up from the Dutch Village side met him, and it was actually his turn, and the guy that went too early finally slams his brakes on. The guy's going around him, dude. The guy slows down. The guy that was in the right slows down. It's like a crawl. And just slowly creeps out in front of the dude while laying on his horn, and he just does this. Man!
Perfect.
I laughed my ass off. I was like, that shit's kind of fucking hilarious. But anyway, yeah, today is going to be wild. I don't know what, the roads are going to be a skating rink tonight, so I'm gonna have to be driving 4 kilometers an hour between here and the hospital to pick up Em later. But otherwise, that was it. Very exciting week indeed, and just typical Canadian winter stuff. Let's get started, Mr. Black, because we've got a reasonable amount, and we're on a timeline today. And so let's get cracking here with some news. We had a lot happen, as I said, here in the last week and a half or so. You'll remember that in the last podcast, you and I discussed there was a lot of that hubbub around possible games from Xbox being sent over to PlayStation and Nintendo. We talked about the rumored ones of which might actually end up on those consoles. And then Xbox finally announced, or Phil announced, that they were doing some sort of podcasty thing that was going to go over all of the various, things that people were discussing online, because clearly they were trying to put out some fires. So that happened. They did that. It was a pre-recorded podcasty sit-down thing on their Xbox channel, in which they went over pretty much everything that the internet had been setting a fire to for the week previous. And so we got a couple of the answers here. I'll just go over like the core of it. And then you guys will have an idea if you haven't already heard tell of it. So basically, what happened in this podcast, they had Phil, and then they had Matt Booty, and then they had the new head of the actual Xbox console division. I think it's Sarah Bond. It was the who's in there now. That's just a new position. I think that was who it is. I might be conflating her with somebody else, and forgive me if that's the case. Either way, those three are there. So all the heads of Xbox. So you had the head and Phil. You had the head of the Xbox division in terms of the console itself in Sarah, and then Matt Booty, who's head of first-party games at Xbox Studios. And then they answered a whole bunch of questions that were related to the stuff people were wondering about. And I will say this, it was, as you can imagine, for a pre-recorded thing, it wasn't bad, but it was still very corporate speak kind of a situation. Relatively relaxed for sure, but it half of it sounded like they were talking to, and this is probably what it really was, half of it sounded like they were talking to the players, and the other half was like, we're talking to shareholders. kind of a situation, a little double whammy in there. So the main points that we can touch on for now, they tackled this pretty much right out of the gate. They asked Phil, hey, everyone's been talking about these possible moves with first-party games going to Sony and or Nintendo. Can you talk to us a bit more about that? Is it true? Which games are going? Is it going to be? And then Phil kind of dove into that. He said out of the gate, it's not Starfield. So he shut that one down immediately. But the way that he worded it, it sounds like it's not Starfield right now.
Yeah,
it wasn't
will
like
be eventually, but it isn't day one. So
not day one.
It's coming.
I think it's, and I think this goes hand in hand with a little bit of what they went on to talk about strategy-wise. But it's not Starfield or anything like that. He said it's essentially 4 games at the time. We know which 4 games they are now, but during that podcast, they didn't have the actual games that they were going to mention, because he said he wanted to let the studios do the announcements for these games. So there was 4 of them. The 4 games that they ended up being were, and some of these were the rumored ones, so this ended up being pretty accurate. So the 4 games were Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, Pentiment, and Sea of Thieves. Some of those are going to like a Nintendo. Some of those are going to Sony. And the release dates and all that stuff, are obviously, I think most of them are available now. But either way, those are the games. And then he went on to talk about what the strategy was for Xbox in regards to these multi-platform situations. And essentially is anything that's not really like the way that I would interpret it, a console seller or like a platform maker. So the really big stuff, that's stuff that is not being tabled for this kind of strategy right now. The stuff that they're tabling for this are smaller developer games that aren't necessarily in that category that would benefit, like the studio itself would benefit from being able to sell their game on more platforms. And then live service and multiplayer situations where the games obviously benefit from a broader user base than they can get just being locked up on Xbox and or PC. That's kind of the strategy, which if you look at the list of games here, that's exactly what those 4 games kind of encompass, right? So, however, I will say personally, I do think, and I'm sure you would agree, that although you didn't hear him, when he the way that he was framing about it not being Starfield, it still feels like to me that they're leaving that as an option, but it's probably going to be on a more game by game basis, and probably after quite a bit of time has passed before they put those games out on other platforms. It might not be a year. It could be like a 2-year window or some shit. I highly doubt it's going to be like 6 months and then it's showing up on PlayStation. Like, that's not going to happen. I don't think. But some sort of time delay. Because, again, games getting fucking expensive. And we're going to talk about that a bit later in the show, too. Games are fucking expensive to make. Especially some of these big ones. And so, milk it for all it's worth and then get some more money by putting it elsewhere is, I think, a reasonable strategy. That you're going to see Sony do the same thing as well. And, in fact, that is something we'll talk about to a degree here, too. They did also reiterate, because like I mentioned, they had the heads of each. So they reiterated that consoles, in terms of actual hardware, still maintaining as part of their strategy moving forward. So we were discussing, is this the last Xbox gen? Now we're both standing and waddling around like fucking assholes. People are gonna be like, holy shit! There's just moving around. This is we're old, okay? We're old. Man. We gotta stand up and move.
My knees aren't the same, guys. They just aren't the same, man. I already need more knee surgery on the different knee now.
Oh my god.
It's gone. My knee is gone. So yeah, bear with me. There's gonna be some movement. It is. That's why I got the desk.
It is what it is. So, yeah. So they're still going forward with hardware sales. So we had discussed whether or not we thought maybe this might be the last Xbox gen, or maybe the one after next might be the last one. But for the foreseeable future, they still plan on doing hardware moving forward, and not just, for example, relying entirely on Game Pass just being fucking everywhere to prop up the whole business. In fact, they were confident enough in that as being part of their strategy that they said at the end of the show in kind of a cheesy way, but and when you say something like this, especially with how the internet works, that's a bold fucking statement. But they said that the next gen Xbox that will be released will be the largest technological leap in their history. Which is a lofty fucking claim, because as time goes on, it's harder and harder to have, like, what does that mean, a technological leap? They can't, the thing is that when you say that, everyone thinks visually, immediately. But when they're not saying the biggest visual fucking leap in his, they're just saying the biggest technological leap. So it could mean a whole bunch of shit that they lump into that, because obviously, technologically speaking, in 4 years from now, the games aren't going to be like the leap that we got going from the fucking like N64 era to the PS2 Xbox era. That ain't the leap that we're getting here, or we're not going to go from 2D to 3D again. Like that we've already crossed that barrier. And so, what does that mean? Who fucking knows? But they were crazy enough to say it, and of course now that's going to be a soundbite that they're going to be fucking nailed on for the next few years, I'm sure. And then lastly, I would say one of the things that stood out was that Phil mentioned, and this was like partly on the podcast, and then Phil did a bunch of interviews outside of this podcast where he almost, I wouldn't say he contradicted himself, but he elaborated more in ways that he probably should have on the actual fucking podcast. in the interviews that he gave after. However, that being said, he mentioned that, the industry is, the stuff that people are picking on Xbox for right now, he said the whole industry is experiencing this. Everyone. And the implication here is they're just moving on it first. And you're going to see everyone else essentially do the same thing. It's just that they're choosing to go out and do it now. Mostly, I would assume, because they can afford to, and they might as well just do it now. Because, but the idea is that it's too expensive. And not only that, but he said something really on the nose that would end up this week being proven almost instantaneously. And he said some of the problem, other than, of course, the major costs, or it goes hand in hand with the major costs of games, is that a lot of major studios and stuff are now focusing on just continuing to milk the same cow over and over again because it's proven, and that's not going to work forever, and it's going to stifle the rest of the industry. And not even a week after he said that, Sony, right after they announced 900 people getting laid off across every one of their major studios. So we're talking the ones that make The Last of Us. We're talking about the ones that make the Horizon Zero Dawn franchise. We're talking about the ones that just made the incredibly successful Spider-Man 2. Everyone getting laid off. They closed the entire London office down. Whole office got shut down. I think 900 people, if I'm not mistaken, represents something about 11% of their current workforce. And as they did that, they also announced or talked about the idea that they were going to be focusing more on proven IP, and a number of games that were actually being worked on, they announced that they're now canceled. So there's a bunch of cancellations of games and everything else. So all this happened at the same time. And I have later in the podcast, I said, well, thank God they've got fucking Final Fantasy VII Rebirth launching this week to soften the blow of all this fucking shit news, so they can have somebody, or they can have everyone forget about the fact that this happened 4 days after. But it was really on the nose, so they're basically doing exactly what Phil was talking about. And Sony is going to be making the moves that Xbox have been making, talking about multi-platform use, etc., etc. Everyone's going to be doing the same shit. It's just the way that it fucking is. But that was like the big block of news in the last couple of weeks with that. So when we talked about it last, Mr. Black, we were talking about, our predictions. It seems that Xbox is going to be around, as far as hardware is concerned, for longer. Let me just do this last piece of news and I'll ask you a different question. I was about to ask you a question, but there's one more piece here that stands out to me. Or that is tied to this. EA also announced 5% layoff this week, which is about 670 people, along with announcing the cancellation of a Star Wars first-person shooter that was being handled by Respawn, which is one of their major studios. So we're continuing to see a whole bunch of layoffs, obviously, and this is very clearly not the last of it either. We're going to get even more layoffs coming. And we know to some degree that a lot of this was overhiring during a time where money was a lot more free flowing, and so developers and publishers were just hoarding developers to try and push projects through because money was basically growing on trees for quite a period of time. And this was happening even before the pandemic influx of money. This was like 2015, 16, 17, 18, nearly 10 years.
Rates were still pretty low even before COVID, right?
That's what I mean. No, that's what I mean. Like, this is before, like, some people go, oh, this is like all from like this 3-year period, but like, like they've been, if you look back and some developers have talked about it, they were like, some guys in the industry talk about, look, this has been happening since like 2015, where they've been hiring like crazy for projects. And now they're in this situation where they're trying to basically they're trying to keep the growth numbers up by just cutting people out of the picture because it's the easiest way to do it at the moment. It's where most of the money is spent in gaming. It's made by people. There's not a lot of like the other costs it doesn't add up to a bunch of human capital. And so that's what you're seeing here is them trying to maintain growth. It's just the interesting part is that a lot of these developers for Sony all posted positive growth year on year between last year and this year. And are still getting hit with layoffs. So a lot of people are looking at it and going, holy fuck, you're telling me that what you're telling me industry does bad, everyone gets laid off. Industry does good, everyone gets laid off. It's just like it doesn't seem to matter what it is. And so a lot of people in the industry are looking at the industry now. They already were to a degree, but it seems even more so now that if you're going to work in the games industry, you basically have to have an exit plan on tap at all times. You're going to get laid off, almost certainly. And so now everyone's looking at it as in that kind of way because here's my take on it, and this is what I was going to ask you. So I think that this is happening because it's similar to the tech industry, I think, games industry, where when money is free, tech more than almost any other industry goes fucking batshit crazy. Like it's every like 20-year-old Y Combinator graduate with a fucking idea that's going out and pitching, rounds of investment. Please invest in my new penis mold company. I got the idea from a YouTuber. Don't ask me who, but it's a great idea. It's going to make us billions of dollars. And because money's so good, there's investors somewhere. They're like, yeah, dick molds. Let's get behind that. That sounds like a great idea. 100%. Here's $50 million in round day funding. Go have fun. And then they go fuck off and do their thing. And so like really it is an exacerbated version of like, obviously all industry money like that, lending is cheaper. Everything kind of goes up, but it seems to be concentrated in tech, and gaming's part of that. And so I think part of the problem to a degree is that even though in some instances, I think that developers and publishers can avoid this if they are successful enough already. Like they can weather not growing as fast as others. Lots of people will look at it and say, okay, the rest of the industry is hiring right now. They're all doing major projects because the money is where it is available. If we don't do that and we're not growing with them, even if we know on the other side we're going to have to claw this back, we're going to fall behind because we're not taking advantage of the situation that everyone else is taking advantage of. And like I said, some companies can choose to do that. They don't have to. But there's not that many of those. There's not that many of those companies, and so it's a catch-22 where you're somewhere between having to and not, depending on the company that you are. And I think that we're seeing a lot of that now. I'm sure you agree with that, but do you have any other thoughts as to why for gaming specifically, even though the industry is making more money than it ever has, and we see that on paper right now, before layoffs, do you have any thoughts as to why you think these layoffs are continuing to happen? Because it seems like they're going to continue to happen even more. It doesn't seem like we're done yet, and we've already cut, and some places are cut like 20% or more of their entire workforce.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the word is called capitalism. I mean, just because a company is making more profits year over year doesn't necessarily mean that they need to keep all of their employees or contractors or anything like that. Everything happens in cycles. So when money's cheap, when you can borrow for less than inflation, the tech companies are going to, that's when they're going to go all in, right? That's when they're going to put all their chips on the table and they're going to say, okay, borrow, right? If we've got $10 billion to spend, we can borrow on the backs of, 10 times that. And then we can go into hyperdrive, higher, be competitive, like you said, against everybody else. Because if we don't, we're getting left behind. And it'd be the same thing, right? So if they didn't hire all those people and they didn't be competitive, then they're yelled at by the fanboys and the fangirls out there and shareholders, all like,
why are they all cranking out games and you're not?
Exactly. What the fuck is your problem? Didn't you just have profits last year? Why aren't you doing what X, Y, and Z is doing? Right? You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And so a lot of the times they'll take a lot of debt, they'll make a lot of shit happen. And when they make a lot of shit happen, that's when they get record high profits if they've done it right. And then when they get record high profits, it makes the shareholders happy. And then when you go, okay, well, now we got to mitigate some of this debt now that the interest has gone up by like 5 or 6 points over the last 2 years. Now they got to go to the shareholders. They got to say, okay, listen, we had record profits, but now what we're going to do is we're going to lay off a fuck ton of people to make sure that we continue that momentum so that we can continue. Because if they don't, then the projections for the next calendar year are not going to be on a steady climb, right? So they fire a bunch, they keep it going. When interest rates come down, which they're going to this year, they're going to probably at the end of Q1, we're going to start to see like 0.25 basis points come down, something along those lines, probably both in the States and in Canada. And it will slowly tinker, and there'll be some holding periods. It will not come down as fast as it went up. There's no way in fuck. But even if it comes down by 3/4 of a basis point in 2024, or even half a basis point, I mean, half a point is massive amounts of interest. Like
especially at the scale that they're borrowing at.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you look even at your house. You know, you take a look at a house. Half a basis point, 0.5. That is like hundreds of dollars a month in savings, right? You talk about billions. I mean, now you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. And you know, when that comes down, that's when they'll hire again. That's when they'll do another big boom. And then the profits will continue to grow. They'll be, you know, everybody will be FOMOing. Hey, we got to hire. Come on, we got to get these games out. We got to do this stuff. This is why they're cutting back. This is why they're canceling a bunch of shit. They're laying off a bunch of people. And this is just called cycles. This happens in every industry, and it happens more severely in tech because of it is tech. Not only that, we're also entering into a new world of AI on top of that. So now we got to find out, you know, how many more jobs will inevitably, you know, go once they figure out what's going on and how they can use AI in the most profitable way possible. So yeah, I mean, we've already talked about this several times on the podcast. None of this surprises me. You're going to hear more layoffs, and there will probably be another round of layoffs before the end of the year. Another one. And it will keep going until they basically trimmed the majority of the fat. They've leaned right out. Then they go, okay, we've cleared up some of this debt. We're aggressively paying back debt or whatever, or at least not adding more onto it, or as minimal as possible. And then when the rates come down, then, you know, profits will go up some more and more people will get hired. And it is what it is. I mean, this is just the market. If you're in, like you said, if you're in the gaming industry and you're a developer, you know, or you're an artist or you're whatever, you know, you gotta, and I've said this, I got yelled at in the comment sections and the chats and all this other fucking shit over God knows how long, because I literally tell people how corporate America works and how capitalism works. And people don't like to hear it, but this is just how business is operated. And this is going to continue to happen. So if you're in this industry and you are working in this industry, just like what Adam said, you want to have some contingencies put in place. You need to understand that you can be dropped like that if you are not a very specialized individual or well-connected within the corporate sphere that you're in. You are going to get laid off. You are going to get laid off. That it's not about are you going to, it's when are you going to be laid off and what are you going to do between now and then. And you also know that a lot of these companies, they don't give a fuck about you. They will run you into the ground. They will want you to work 15-hour days. They will put you through hell. They will not pay you the way that you should be paid. Or the majority of people. I'm sure there are some people that get paid very well for what they do. But for the majority of people, you're going to get used and abused. And you just got to know that going into it. And set yourself up so that you aren't devastated when you lose your job at EA. Because it's inevitable. You need a backup plan. Yeah, it's like being a streamer. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Twitch changed their policy. You're fucked. Your game's no longer popular. You're fucked. What are you gonna do if you're an actor? You go do a movie, it doesn't do well in the box office, your name's tarnished. You do something wrong on social media, you're fucking canceled. I mean, this is the arts world, right? I know we're in tech, but let's be real here.
Well, it's tech and art kind of in the same
tech and
space.
Art sort of the same. It commingles. You know what I mean? We're in a tech industry, but we're artists. You know, we're entertainers. But that's also what happens when you're following a passion and a dream. You got a dream, you want to make video games when you grow up because you love video games, you do that? Well, the cold hard truth is they're ran by a bunch of corporate people that have one thing and one thing only: profits. That's all they want. Profits. That's it. They don't want to be your friend. They don't care about you. They don't care about your family. Some might say they do, and some companies do. And you know which ones they are because they stand out amongst the crowd. But they typically aren't the ones that are releasing games that are selling 10, 20 million copies in a few weeks. They typically aren't those. Those are the big conglomerates, the big corporations that got a chokehold on the industry. I mean, it's just the way it is. It sucks. I feel for people. I do. But it just sucks. It is what it is. If Twitch today decides to fold, close up shop, because they can. Let's be real. They can. And for them, they're not profitable. They haven't been, they're struggling. It is what it is. Dude, we could wake up in a world where Twitch goes, I'm out. I'm out. Then what do? Do we get mad at Twitch? Or, a lot of people
probably
would.
a little bit, yeah.
Probably. but at the same time, I know that this is a possibility.
Yeah, of course.
It's an unlikely one.
Yeah.
But I know it's a possibility. So what am I going to do to put myself into a position that if doomsday happens, I'm okay? All these other people in the tech industry, arts, whatever, they all need to think the same. And I know that's really tough to do when you're in the thick of it and you're already run down and you're already doing more than what you feel capable of and things like that. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's the way the industry is. It sucks.
Yeah, it's fucking brutal. It is an unfortunate knock-on effect of games having been taken to the level of of corporate attraction that they have been, because the reality is for games is that the games industry makes more money than all other entertainment industries combined. And that attracts the big wig corporate attention, and the people that end up largely running most of these places are not from the games industry. They're being brought in from outside of it, and like Mr. Black said, they don't really give a fuck about games. They give a fuck about the bottom line, and they do whatever the fuck they want. I mean, a lot of these instances, when you start laying off that many people, they're hiring outside sources to then just decide who's getting laid off. They just give them broad strokes of what departments to just start axing, and it's just
for a number.
You're just you're a fucking number. And there's a lot of people getting laid off in these rounds, for example, in certain disciplines, are people that have been at a company for 10, 11, 13, whatever years. And so some of the downside to this too, unfortunately, with how, if you're wondering how games continue to be so shit despite a $500 million budget, some of it is when they do lay people off, they're laying off some of their most talented people because they're expensive.
Yes, they cost too much.
And so
they can literally replace two people for one, which could do more output, but the quality might not be there.
Yeah, and
the love might not be there.
That's what you're seeing, is you're seeing games that are basically being put together by people that are talented, but it's not the same as, for example, I think it was the CEO of FromSoft, which is, Elden Ring, Dark Souls and whatnot, and who said the reality is the secret to making good video games, because they're like, how the fuck you keep cranking out bangers? FromSoft hasn't had a miss in 20 years now, basically. So how the fuck do you keep cranking out bangers? And his answer was, stop firing people. He said the longer you hold on to people, the institutional knowledge, kind of the idea is the institutional knowledge stays. You have all this experience. Their speed comes with experience, but quality also comes with experience. And you get to a point where it's a well-oiled machine and everyone's on the same page, and you get stuff like Elden Ring, which coincidentally later, is a point here, but I'll mention it now, has the DLC coming. Shadow of the Erd Tree, they showed the trailer off this week. It looks fucking insane. It looks huge. They've added like new combat styles and a whole bunch of other shit to this game. Looks like it's bigger than most AAA fucking game releases as a DLC, and they're charging $40 for it. You know what? It's gonna be worth $40 because this game's probably gonna be fucking killer. It's gonna be absolutely insane. It probably will be like another 30 to 50 hours of gameplay, and they can do that. Elden Ring didn't come out that long ago.
No.
And they're going to release another, like...
ago. If that.
Not even.
Yeah.
Well, like, when was it? Well, I need to fucking... Well, yeah, it's like...
Years. It's probably like February or March of 2022, or... Yeah,
February of 2022, so it's been 2 years almost to the day.
There you go. Don't ask me how I know that, but I knew that.
That's yeah, how the fuck did you manage to recall...
I don't know.
It works.
Because Adam, I buy like one video game every fucking few years,
and that was one. So 2 years, and they're cranking out this massive chunk of content for an already massive game, and it's probably going to get like bordering on perfect fucking review scores when it comes out. But he said that's it. And you'll see that same thing. I bet you you don't see Rockstar laying off 20-year-long employees.
No.
I bet you don't see that shit at all. But you know who is laying off some of their long-standing employees? Blizzard.
Well, of course. Yeah, but there's a difference though, right? The difference is Rockstar comes out with a game, twice a decade.
Well, so did Blizzard for a long time though, remember? Like they're
not anymore, right? They bought up a fuck ton of garbage. They got bought up by fucking Activision, right? There's a lot more on the table. So they're running themselves thin. If you've got if you're Rockstar and you're just winning, you're just the fucking man. You don't need to fire anybody because you've got the formula. Why would you fuck with any of the formula? You print billions. Everybody wishes they were you. Everybody. It's like having the hottest movie franchise the world has ever seen. And every time you come out with one, it's billions. It's billions. It's like coming out with Avatar, except that like universally everybody loves it. It's not memed on, it's not anything. It's just universally everybody loves it. And you print money. And you don't need to hire a army of people to then fire them a year from now. You literally have what you have. And I'm sure they do their firing. I'm sure they do their hiring.
Well, everyone does.
But it ain't on this level because they're not in that position. Dude, they're playing a different set of games, man. They're playing a whole different they're in a different league. Like they just are. It's like Nintendo. They're in a different league. They just do their own thing. While everybody else is in the fucking fishbowl and a bunch of the fish, what are those fish that when they see another fish, they just fucking fight to the death?
Oh, aren't they literally called fighting fish?
Fighting fish, Siamese fighting fish.
Yeah.
It's like a whole bunch of Siamese fighting fish getting put into a tank and seeing who dies and who survives. Meanwhile, you've got Rockstar on the outside, Nintendo on the outside, just watching them as entertainment. Like, look at these stupid fucking fish killing each other. These guys are little betas. We're the alphas. We don't need to lower our standards. We don't need to go into this cockfight. We're the ones putting the cockfight together. We've already got it figured out. Everybody else, man, they fighting. And it is.
I guess the question is how do you get there? You get there by making good games. And you don't tend to get good games by continuously playing the corporate hire fire cycle, which is what we're seeing basically everywhere else in AAA gaming. I mean, look at for example, Skull and Bones finally came out. 11 years of development time from Ubisoft. Yeah. 11 fucking years. The game's dog shit. It's actual dog shit. 11 years
Ubisoft,
development time,
bro. It's Ubisoft.
But you have to keep in mind, Ubisoft is like the second or third largest publisher in the world.
Of course.
So they're playing they're playing the corporate. They're playing the corporate game. And it's that when people say AAA games are unsustainable, that's what I think of. AAA games are unsustainable if you're playing the corporate version of video game development. Because what is the corporate video game world built on? The backs of franchises that came before the corporate video game paradigm.
Yeah. But they can't stop Adam. That's the problem. They can't. At this point, they've made their bed and now they have to lay in it. Because now standards are set.
But not everyone else has. And so we're gonna see, and we are seeing, like FromSoft, for example. And Nintendo does it from the outside. Nintendo has many studios. They hold on to games and shit. They just sit on fucking games and they do whatever. And yeah, like we can say it's because it's Nintendo they've done that, but that's because they didn't just start doing that 4 years ago. They've been doing that this whole time. They're the company that had a CEO that when they did have a downfall for a while and money wasn't coming in, the CEO took the pay cut and said, I'll give myself money when we're back on our feet. That's a different game. It's doable. It's there, but it ain't corporate America. Corporate America is a broken pile of dog shit that can crank out money for a short period of time for a small amount of people, and then it's like watching Rome fall on a cyclical 6-month fucking basis over and over again. We're watching Activision actively find a way to slowly burn Call of Duty to the dirt, where they've made a bunch of money. You look back, you're like, oh my god, look at how much money they made. But they're gonna fucking kill it if they don't start fucking turning the ship around. We're already watching it happen in real time. So it is unfortunate. It is the reality that it is, and I agree with you. People do have to have, as I said as well, you have to have a backup plan. If you're in the industry, it's going to happen. People are getting fired like crazy, especially if you're lower on the totem pole. You're going to be definitely seen as a number. And as we're seeing, even if you are somebody, you're not safe. You got to basically be ready to fucking go at any time. Luckily, there are still some development houses that are doing so well right now. When the firing happens, they've been announcing on social media, we're hiring. Come on over here. We're booming. Everyone else is falling apart. We're making money. You come on over here. We got games pop up. We need people. We need people to make it work. So there are some people being sucked up by that, but at the same time, holy fuck, what an absolute mess. That being said, the Switch 2, talking about Nintendo. There were some rumors we had discussed before about, is it this year? Is it next year? As it turns out, that was what was happening. It's on the fence. We're still kind of on the fence. Is it this year or next year? But it does seem like there has been a delay to push it into 2025, into something like the window of March of 2025, which would coincide, I believe, with what they did with the Switch originally as well. But the going idea here is that it's because another game got semi-delayed and will be missing the window in the winter. Possibly, and that's Pokemon Legends Z-, that's supposed to say Z-A. Really killer name there. I don't know if there's more to that and they haven't elaborated on it yet, but either way, Pokemon Legends ZA announced this week for a 2025 window as well. So a lot of people are betting on the fact that they are delaying the console to launch alongside with a new Pokemon game. And possibly one or two others, because if you remember what they did with the Switch, they banked up a bunch of fucking games.
Yeah.
Like, absolute bank. Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8. They had like this massive list of just absolute bangers that ended up being still to this day more or less some of their best-selling games on the platform, and launched it with the console, and you couldn't buy a fucking Switch for less than $700 million for like the longest period of fucking time. So I suspect that's also what they're doing here. But the upshot is, the rumor is as well from a spec perspective, because everyone's thinking, what is the Switch 2 going to play like? Because the Switch 1 right now plays like a hamster powered by a potato running on fumes at this point in its life. So it looks like the specs are aiming between a Steam Deck and an Xbox Series S, which theoretically, it's all NVIDIA hardware, it's an APU, NVIDIA APU and whatnot, theoretically should mean, I'm saying should, because it's Nintendo and you never know, 1080p 60 would be like their floor. Please fucking God. That's all I want from Nintendo is 60 frames per second. I can live with the fact that it's not necessarily 4K or whatever the fuck else. I've accepted the fact they're not going to do that. But just give me 60 frames. Like, goddamn, man. I just want 60 frames. So we're gonna have to wait and see. I believe.
Yeah.
So you just got yourself the Switch
the
OLED.
Yeah.
Are you gonna hop on? You're gonna wait and see what Switch 2 ends up bringing? Do you think that do you think that Kai will want to take a look at it or anything like that? Of course you will.
I've got the fucking bro, but I've got the OLED, man, and I get everything.
I
got everything I could ever want with my Switch. So
that's true.
The odds of me buying a Switch 2 anytime soon,
not out of the gate. It'll be hard to find anyway.
But my son probably will get one for Christmas or something.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like
Santa.
I mean, look, if the Switch 2 comes out and it's this amazing piece of hardware that they've done things that like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. Sure, I'll fucking buy it. But if it's just an upgrade, I mean, the Switch is just one of those things that I can just, I don't know. I can let myself not give a fuck about the hardware because the games they make are so good.
Yeah.
That like I don't obsess over how they run because no matter really what, outside of a couple of Zelda games and there are a couple of other games that like, are bogged down. I get that. But for the stuff that I play, the things that I want to enjoy, play a little bit of Mario, play a little bit of Luigi's, play some sports, but dude, it's everything I need and some. I just let my guard down when it comes to Nintendo and I just have fun. I don't overanalyze it. I don't really care. If they came out and said, hey, it's still at 30 frames, I don't really care. I know a lot of people will, and I think that they need to make this 60 as well, and I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
But if they didn't, I wouldn't really. It's not changing my life. The games are still going to be what the games.
They're still going to be good games. I mean, it's Nintendo. They make good games.
Little tiny fucking thing. Yeah. The thing looks fucking great, dude. The OLED looks so good. It looks so fucking good.
OLED is for people who have never played games on an OLED screen in general, whether that's a TV or otherwise, it really is probably the biggest visual difference that I've personally experienced outside of just like a generational leap in like obviously like a generational leap in graphics. The visual increase is just crazy because the thing about the OLED
of it,
it's vibrant. It's like it's crazy color reproduction and whatnot, and blacks are actually black because they're just turning a pixel off. And then the response times on them are ridiculous. So there's very little ghosting. So if you play a game at 60 FPS on like an LCD, and then you play 60 FPS on an OLED, the OLED will look like it's running at like almost 90. And it's because it has like no ghosting at all. There's no trailing because the pixel response time is so much fucking faster. So unless you're on a really specialized monitor for PC gaming or something, oftentimes 60 FPS on an OLED legitimately will fool you into thinking you're playing at a higher fucking frame rate. It's a really weird. When I first played it, it was almost like disorienting. I was like, fuck. But yeah, it is huge. So, and on a small screen, oh my God, just even better. I do remember, like a side note, I do remember when I saw my first OLED, it was in the Sony store when the Halifax Shopping Center still had a Sony store. Do you remember that? And they had
a long time ago.
A long time ago. So
wow.
This was early 2000s or some shit. And they had their tech on display for their first OLED tech. And it was in a display at the back right of the store. And it was a panel that was maybe not much bigger than a Switch. I think it was like an 8-inch or something panel. And it was under this glass or whatever there, and it was, a big spiel about like OLED technology and whatnot. And I remember seeing it. And even back then I was like, dude, that's fucking crazy. But that panel cost like $40,000 at the time.
Oh yeah.
At the time. Just crazy expensive. But I was like, oh my God, the future. And of course it took nearly fucking 20 years before that technology ever came to market in mass. But I do remember that moment seeing it. I was like, holy fuck, because it was so much better than what we had. But yeah, the Switch OLED is definitely fire. My question to you, I guess, for the Switch 2 before we move on is, do you think or what, or do you think there will be much changes to how it is physically, or do you think they'll basically keep it the same? So some people have been, I'll just give you an example. Some people have been wondering if they will keep the Joy-Cons or if they'll go the Steam Deck route and just have it be unibodied. Do you think they'll make any changes to the form factor, or do you think it will just be like a hardware swap, screen swap? And
I think it's a hardware screen swap, some UI updates.
Do you think they'll make it a bigger screen, or do you think that they'll keep it around the OLED size?
Might be a little bit bigger.
Because how big is the? How big is the?
You can't make the screen too big, because then it becomes a bitch to carry around and do things, right? You don't want to be carrying around a tablet, like a big fucking huge tablet. You want it to be simple. I mean, at most, I could see them just making the screen a tiny bit bigger, but at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if it almost looks identical. Just some new colors, some, longer battery life for the Joy-Cons, just different things that are just gonna, more storage, more of everything, just a hardware refresh. I think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think there's too much money that would be wasted by changing the fab process too much. They have to make it look a little different, because for people looking at consoles on a store shelf from a consumer basis, like a parent walking into Walmart, you got to be careful about making it look too much the same. And like, it's good that they're at least calling this like the Switch 2 theoretically, and not doing the Wii U thing again, because the amount of parents that got confused walking into a Walmart when Wii U was a product was like through the fucking roof. So, and some people were thinking about, do they try to do a Wii U type thing where they let the screen be a second screen and cast the game on the TV, or something along those lines, to bring back the functionality of a Wii U without relying on the Wii U controller style. I think that's over the top. I think that's too technologically advanced for Nintendo, and I think it'd be personally stupid, because anything you're streaming to the TV, is the latency and shit is just not worth the fucking, for a second screen is not worth it.
It's still gonna have the console handheld capability. It's gonna be the same thing. I just feel like it's gonna run better.
Yeah, I think so too. I honestly think they're going to use the same OLED screen. I think they might make the OLED screen, unless they get a deal with, let's say Samsung or another high-end LED LCD manufacturer that can get close to an OLED, but maybe better battery life or something. Like, maybe they switch it on that one if there's any kind of concerns with that. But otherwise, I think there's a non-zero chance that they basically take the existing body, very small changes. I think the screen size will be the same. I mean, the Switch OLED, you have to keep in mind, is significantly bigger screen than the standard Switch.
It
is. Significantly. It's about 7 inches diagonal. The Steam Deck is 7.4, which is, so it's not a huge difference. Half an inch on a diagonal is a fair amount of screen space. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is reasonable. But I think the OLED, having seen it at your place, because that was the first OLED that I saw out of a box, I think that's the perfect size. Any more than that, it's kind of like
it's too big. It just gets too big. It's too much. I think where they're at is where we're gonna see it. Like, I really truly do. And I think part of their advertisement will be, you will be able to play the old Switch games on the Switch 2 in a higher frame rate, in a better experience, and that will be part of it. You will quite literally be able to take your Breath of the Wild or Breath of the Wild 2 or whatever other games there is, stick it into that bitch, and it's gonna run like butter.
So you think they're gonna stick to the same form factor like this as well? Yeah, I agree. I think they're gonna use the same one.
It's all gonna be the same. I really truly do. I think that the design is going to be the same. I think that a little bit of different color, maybe a different finish on it, fancy box, and that's the show. I really do. I really think you're gonna be able to take your current Joy-Cons and stick them into that bitch and just play it as is. I think you're gonna be able to link up old Switches with new Switches. I think it's all just gonna be more of the same, just better.
I think it would be
Nintendo. People will buy it. People will just buy it, just to buy it.
So much of the selling point of it was, especially for kids, because it's not for us with big ass hands, but was the Joy-Con thing. You get the one console, and if you're on the go with kids or whatever else, You've got 2 controllers attached to the fucking console right off the rip. And for a lot of the smaller games the kids are playing, that's a more than enough controller for what they're doing. You're done. You're off to the fucking races. You don't need to be hauling around pro controllers or other fucking massive devices and stuff. And so when people talked about getting rid of that, I thought there's just no fucking shot. They've got to keep the Joy-Cons. I can't imagine. I think they'll improve it. If they're smart, they'll mention that they have nearly eliminated the stick drift, because that was a real black spot for them, was the stick drift issues that they had. Keep the OLED screen, make the body look a little different, I agree, and then just fucking ship that bitch.
Done.
Because Nintendo's all about saving money on the console side, right?
That's it, bro. Dude, Nintendo's just smart, bro. They're just smart. Yeah, they're a little weaselly, and they do this fucking shit that the Nintendo does, but we know what they do, and we sign up for it. They're not trying to, the thing that Nintendo rarely does, and I know they do it, but they don't really innovate all that much. They're basic. They do innovate, but it's not like everything they do is like this, whoa, we're going to change the game. It's like, no, we know our lane. We're just going to add a little bit more. They're basically like Apple, except not as egregious. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, you know what you're getting. If you like them, you love them. And if you hate them, you hate them. It is what it is. They're the Apple of the gaming industry, except just not as.
They're more family friendly than Apple, basically.
Exactly. But that's what they do. You know, their big innovation is something you go, really? That's your innovation? You should have had that a while ago. Why didn't you have that? And they go, well, we didn't have it because we didn't want to put it in there. And we know we're going to release basically the same shit that we released before. So we're just going to add in a little bit. We're just going to add another little thing on there. That's it. And everyone's going to go, yeah, I want it.
It's going to be 2025 and their online is still going to be dog water.
Of course. But you know what? I'm happy that it is. I have had a Switch for years. I bought one when it first came out, and I just got another OLED. And we use the Nintendo Switch every day. Every day. My son's on that. He's probably playing it right now. My wife plays it. I play it. Everybody plays. We have 2 of them in the house. And I can honestly say, we have never, not once, gone on Nintendo Online. I remember when I bought Super Smash Bros. and I played online. It was one of the worst online experiences I've ever had.
So
Not
bad.
only was it horrible to get into a game, but the connection, the latency, everything, it was awful. The whole experience from start to finish, fucking awful. And you know what? I'm okay with that because I've accepted it. If I want to have my online experience, bro, I'm going on the Master Race. I'm going right on my PC, and I'm going to play games for real, all right? Fuck the rest. That's just it. Nintendo's staying in their lane. Their online competitive shit, that's the last thing they need to do, is get into the online space and act like they're doing something so they can get shit all over, have a bunch of bad press, being in a space that they have no business being in, that everybody else can do it better. They just know what works for them. Yeah, they got online capabilities, but it's more so there so you can hang out with your cousins and your friends and play your little games so that your kids can go and do their thing. There ain't nobody on Nintendo being a sweaty nerd going out there on some real competitive shit. There ain't no high-end competitive scene outside of Smash Bros. That's it. That is the show. And it's universally trash online. It's
so
just
bad.
the way that it is. So, hey, you want to experience that? You got to play that shit at LANs. You got to do that shit in person. And that's where you really get the experience. Everything else, whatever. Nintendo, just keep making good multiplayer and single-player games, but make the multiplayers for my friends at home, my family members when they come over. I don't need to be on the internet. You want to know what's nice? Last thing. Yeah, it's super fucking nice. Everything in the gaming world, you have to be logged in. You have to sign up for something. You got to put your email in there. You got to be on some sort of mailing list. You can't even play a single player without being connected to the internet or on some shit while they're doing. With Nintendo, you don't need any of that shit. You could never log online ever and still have the full-blown experience. And there is something to commend and applaud just for that. Stay in your lane and keep doing what you're doing. And that's just that. Let everybody else do that stupid fuckery.
And you know what I'll say about Nintendo for my end cap to this is that is that Nintendo is seen or feels like Nintendo as a company is the last company making. It's going to sound weird. They're the last company making games.
Yes.
Games. Games.
Yes. Yes.
Not services.
Correct.
Not second jobs with FOMO. Not microtransaction laden fuckery. They're making games that just fun mechanically games.
And the replayability on the majority of Nintendo games is insane.
Yes.
Insane. The vast majority of AAA stuff outside of Nintendo, you can't wait for this shit to end. Or it's ended so quick and there ain't nothing else to do. You're going, where's the rest of the fucking game? Or it's just a broken fucking mess and you gotta wait 6 months before somebody patches something. Nintendo? Nah, bro. You play a game, you're almost guaranteed to have fun.
Yes.
Almost guaranteed.
It's the way it is. Next topic, Mr. Black.
It should be.
Well, it should be. Yes, it should be. Yes, exactly.
That's the way it should be.
Stormgate dev Frost Giant is looking to open up investment in the company directly this month, meaning March, to help raise further funds for the development of the game. CEO Tim Morton says that the funds will bolster a strategic marketing campaign, setting the stage for Stormgate's early access launch this summer. So they have a bit of this was a couple days ago announced, and for a few early access days, if you want to call it early access, getting in, and they give you a bonus of amount of shares that you're getting into if you had bought in. But they're doing this just to try to raise even more money. They've raised about $38 million from the Kickstarter and whatever else they pulled some money from up to this point. But as we've discussed, video games are expensive. And so they're looking for other ways to make some more money. And now they're going straight to just selling outright shares in the development house itself. So if you got a lot of money sitting around and you want to own a few percent of Frost Giant, you want to bank on that bad boy, it's going to be a thing. Evidently.
I think it's a bad bet. I think you should save your money.
I would also, this is not financial advice, but maybe no.
And here's the reason why. They have to prove.
They don't have one proven game. They've no proven anything.
They don't. As a new team, like, I understand a lot of these men and women come from very successful video game backgrounds, some of the most successful we've ever seen. But at the same time, it is a new studio.
Yes.
And it is an RTS. And from what I'm hearing, they're not announcing any other games. It's not like they're working on a MOBA or a MMO or a fucking single player thing or a battle royale or anything. It is an RTS, and you're about to get into the space of RTS, which is already an extremely hard genre to have longevity in. I mean, StarCraft, I guarantee you, loses money year after year after year. It's just out there to be out there. I mean, I don't know. If they're making money, it is like fucking break even. They ain't printing over there at this stage. And the RTS genre as a whole basically needs to be reborn. It needs steroids. It needs juice. And they have the right team to do it. But would I go and shovel a bunch of... You know what, man? I'm going to say it. And trust me, I'm rooting for this game. I've given them $1,400 of my money via Kickstarter. I will create content for Stormgate. I am rooting for this game immensely. But it's an RTS. I think the game is moving in a very good direction. I haven't played the game in almost 2 months, so I'm sure I've watched a fair amount of it on Twitch on my free time. But at the same time, it does make me a little nervous that you've raised this much money, you have a Kickstarter, and your founder is a multi-billionaire that ultimately wanted to do this in the first place. And it's a little bit concerning that they are leaning so heavily on the support of the RTS community, when in reality, the RTS community needs the support. And these are the people that are going to do it. And listen, we've poured a bunch of money out here, but now you're going to offer stock options to like buy into this thing?
That is wild. And when you start offering stock options,
I mean, I don't know much about this. I'm only hearing about this right now. So this is like, I'm just processing this out loud.
yeah.
But like, it doesn't strike an immense amount of confidence, because I don't know how that they could go to potential investors at this stage. Like, I'm assuming that this is for consumer, like everyday.
This is anyone. This is
anyone.
open season.
We're not talking about you're going to other billionaires or people that have hundreds of millions of dollars and they're going, yeah, I'll give you $1 million. Go have fun.
I mean, they could theoretically be part of that, but they're opening it up to essentially anyone. Yeah.
So it's like, now you're opening it up. And what's the pitch? Do you expect this to turn into $1 billion franchise? Like, it's an RTS game. Like, how much is the game going to be? What exactly are how are you going to make money? Like, if I'm going to invest into something, like, I don't know, maybe it's out there. Maybe there is a pitch deck somewhere that I could go and read online, and I will look for it after this podcast, that they are basically saying that this is how we plan to monetize. This is how we make, these are our projections. This is how the beta's going. How many people are playing it? What's the average time people are playing the game? How many games are they playing? Are they installing it, playing it, uninstalling it, not playing it anymore? What exactly is this? It's just concerning to me. It just is. And I it's hard for me, like, and I want to just sing nothing but positive things. And I will say the vast majority of stuff I've seen out of Stormgate look great. I'm still not a fan of the art direction. I absolutely despise it. I'm going to keep it a buck. But hey, it's just art. If the game is good, the game is good. I'll get over that. All right? I'll still enjoy it. But I mean, this is an RTS genre.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree. I don't know what the pitch is here. I find it weird. I don't know how to take this when we sit here. We continuously poke fun at Star Citizen's monetization strategy for their game. Obviously this is not obvious. I'm not comparing the long-standing, it's impossible. But you know what I mean. So like they're two monetization strategies, right? Is like the keep making content and then selling the content to fund the continued development of the game. Obviously, they don't necessarily have that option here by the nature of the game itself. There's no way for them to really piecemeal be selling objects ahead of time to fund the game, so they don't have that avenue. They've already done a Kickstarter. They largely use the Kickstarter, set a low enough thing so that
marketing thing,
so that everyone hears about it. Oh, they blew their Kickstarter fund out of the water in 5 minutes, and that's because they set the campaign to like $5, and that's like the show. And then they take that and they go,
grand. You know what I mean?
We've proven this market. Now we take it to actual investors and say, look, we got our shit funded in 20 minutes. There's obviously a need for or a want from the community. Would you like to give us investment rounds? That's how they've largely reached their $38 million so far in investment. I want to know, I mean, they would have had to have gone to the existing investors to some degree anyway before doing this, I would imagine. But I want to know how that conversation went. So go into your first couple of rounds of investors and saying, okay, guys, so we have $38 million, but we need some more. How do you feel if we open this up and start carving up the company further?
Yeah, and like, whose shares is that coming from? Is that coming, like, is it going to?
It's going to be coming from theirs,
else? Like, you
right?
know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I can't imagine.
What's your evaluation? Like, I mean, I don't know. I have to look at all this stuff.
I'm trying to find it.
We can talk about it next week.
Yeah,
I'll do
I
some
haven't
research and then
seen.
we'll, have a more in-depth look at what exactly is going on.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it just, I don't know, man. For me, it's off-putting. It almost feels desperate. It almost feels like they need money, and I understand it's expensive to make these games, but like you have billionaires on your board. Like, and
this is how I look at it too, right? They're basically indie, right? They're completely self-published. They're completely separate from any other entity other than the investors that they've gotten to invest in the company. This is how I look at it. I know games are expensive, but $38 million. How many employees do they have?
I don't know. Probably not an insane amount. Less than 100, maybe. I don't know.
Private employees looks like 49. So they've got, let's call it 50. That could be old information, but it looks, because I'm getting like different numbers based on the year, obviously. But let's call it 50 employees, right? I feel like personally, because this isn't a big AAA development situation. I feel like if you can't make a relatively focused, minimalist campaign focusing predominantly on multiplayer, because that's where they're going to make their money, selling skins and stuff like that for the classes or the races and whatnot.
Yep.
If with 50 people, you can't make that game happen for nearly $40 million, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of, like, if you think like $38 million, I mean, like, if you're like, how much are people getting paid? How much license, like, you're licensing for the engine, but in a lot of cases for the current engines, as we've talked about on the podcast before, until you start selling a bunch of games, you're not really paying tens of millions of dollars in fucking licensing fees. Right? There's the startup of like, maybe you're renting a small location, an office space or something, but if you're smart in the year 2024, you're almost entirely fucking remote right now, in at this point in time. Otherwise, especially when every dollar counts, you're just burning money at that point. Have a small physical location, but not overspend on it. So you got a small location, you have 50 or fewer employees, you're not trying to make a AAA game, you're just trying to make a really nice, tight platform to build off of for your studio's first game. You got 38 million in US in the bank. People are getting paid a fair amount of money here, but as an indie, this is a passion project. People shouldn't be getting paid like buckets of fucking money. So how do you not make that work at 38 mil? I feel like I don't know. That's why it feels weird to me. That like, if you can't, if you can't make that work for 38 mil, maybe you shouldn't be making this game. I just got like, how much do you need? $100 million for 50 people to make this game?
You do not want to make $100 million RTS in 2024.
Like, are you going to make $38 million back on this game already as it stands? Like, is that even going to happen?
No.
Like, you gotta sell a lot of copies, and they're not selling like boxes, right? They're mostly going to be having, like, I think they said free multiplayer, like the StarCraft model, and then selling campaign pieces. You ain't selling that many campaign pieces, that's for sure. So like, you like, and that's what I mean. Like, if you can't do it for 38, now you're getting people to buy into your company. That's what scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, how much do you need now?
The details. I don't know. Like I said, I got to look into this. I don't even know if the shit's public. I have no idea. It would be nice to, like, dude, I would love to interview somebody from there. I should probably reach out. Maybe we get them on the podcast. I'm asking them some really tough questions. Like, just straight up. Just some tough ass questions. Like, what the fuck is going on? Why do you need so much money?
We know that
where is it going?
We know it's an online game. Server infrastructure is expensive, but you ain't building that out right now. Yeah, this is in closed beta. You're not.
I mean, who knows? Maybe we are grossly underestimating how much money it costs to create this engine from the ground up and make it all work and do all. Maybe we are. Maybe we're just like, and I'll admit, I have some ignorance in this because I haven't studied it. I legitimately don't know. But what I'm saying is when you guys come out of the gate, the storm gate, and you say that you're going to make the next StarCraft, the successor to StarCraft 2, and you've got the all-star team. You've got Michael Jordan, you've got Scottie Pippen, you've got even LeBron James coming in, you've got Steph Curry, you've got them all, just about, and you got the all-star team, but you're going to pretend like you're indie, when in reality, the majority of you guys have been to the top of Everest. You've looked down, and you've been like, ah! Some of the most successful developers of all time. And your CEO, one of your founders or co-founders or whatever, is a multi-billionaire that lives, eats, sleeps, shit, fucks RTS, or at least he says he does. And I believe it. I've had conversations with Michael Morheim in person, had dinner with him. Fantastic guy. Awesome guy. Very passionate. But you mean to tell me that that group of people need to create a Kickstarter? Well, I don't think that was needed. I'm with you. It was marketing. It's a way to get people involved. I think that was smart.
Yeah.
But now you're going to open this up, and it just comes off desperate. It comes off like you need help. And if the people that have the money, the brain powers, and the expertise still need more help, that is room for concern. Because if money is just the thing that is going to basically guarantee success for them, they already have the people in place, and I'm sure the investors in place, to go and get whatever amount of money that they fucking need within reason. So why are you then putting risk on your consumers or your just your regular day-to-day Joe Blow investor? Why are they now risking this? Why not create the game and then open it up for people to invest? Why are we now part of this development process or opening it up?
Maybe they've been trying to get more rounds done externally and haven't been able to.
Yeah, that's possible.
Maybe the other investors are looking at the market, looking at the fact that they've already got 40 mil and saying, you know what, guys, we need to see you do more before we're going to come in and give you more money. I can't, that sounds like a likely scenario. And look, I understand, you know, we have a data center architect in chat right now. I understand that the online portion of games is extraordinarily expensive. But if your goal is to do all of this stuff without just doing like, peer-to-peer kind of a setup for the online or something that's cheaper, find some way to piggyback off of somebody's shit. That's what makes me wonder, what is this game worth making? What are you trying to really accomplish here if this is the case?
Because it's a passion project, right? In which it is. And if that's what it is, because that's what they've advertised.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of people getting together that love RTS, they love making games together, and this is their baby. This is their passion project. And with all due respect, if you've got very wealthy people that quite literally $40 million is like a tax write-off. It's like, I'm never going to sit here because, like, once again, I believe in capitalism. I believe you know what? Save as much as you can, make as much as you can. There's a reason why the wealthy stay wealthy. They use other people's money, OPM, I get it. But at the same time, if this is a passion project and you're selling us on you doing this differently than everybody else, and you've been there before and you've created this RTS genre for us, and you're coming out and this is what you want to do for us and for yourself, then the onus should be on you to see this through and to prove your vision to everybody else. It isn't really on the public to do so. Now, will the game still get made if the public doesn't funnel in another $10, $20 million? I'm sure it will. but it's just off-putting. It's
because you can't always direct compare things, but I'm just going to bring in a couple of examples here just to try and round this out. So we don't know exactly what StarCraft 2's budget was because Blizzard never actually publicly announced how much it was. However, there was a false reporting of $100 million that they came out and corrected and said that wasn't it, and that figure was actually pulled from World of Warcraft. And so that would tell me that it was south of $100 million, right?
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea. I mean, obviously that was in development in the early mid aughts into launch in 2010. So money has gotten more expensive, especially in the last 4 years specifically.
Of course. Yeah.
But that gives you an idea of what the ceiling is. StarCraft 2 being like the pinnacle of the entire genre, the literal peak of the entire genre.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then what you could assume loosely is that if you were going to replicate the pinnacle of the entire genre today in today's money, with a team the size that Blizzard had on StarCraft 2, let's call it $100 million.
Yep.
That's the peak.
Yep.
Literal tits.
Yeah.
Furthermore, if you were to look at, let's say, Last Epoch, a game that I've been playing, that was made by mostly a bunch of dudes that met on Reddit that played ARPGs and for years and were diehards, got together and made this a passion project, did the same thing with Kickstarter, the set a relatively small goal, $255,000 is what they ended up with on their Kickstarter when it began, that was like 4 years ago when they entered, 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess, when they entered, it was in 2018. When they did their Kickstarter, and then they sold roughly, I think they said they sold roughly a little more than 1 million units pre-launch, and they were selling it for 35 US, I think. So call it, if you want to be generous, if they did get some extra funding, I don't personally know, they might have got some extra. They hit for 50. Let's call it 50. Somewhere between 40 and 50 themselves. They put out a game that, other than some API issues or something along those lines, a service issue that wasn't necessarily server capacity at the time, shouldering 250,000 people concurrent in an online game, multiplayer scenario. Now, the netcode for that will be different than the netcode for something like an RTS, in that it might not have to be quite as tight, although it still has to be pretty tight because there's 70 enemies on the screen all shooting you at the same time, and you have to be able to have some form of stability there to make that work, especially in a multiplayer environment. And so they made about the same amount of money work to crank out a game that's currently competing directly with Diablo 4. And I promise you, Diablo 4 cost a lot more money and used a lot more people than Last Epoch.
Yeah.
And so, if you take those two examples, so a recent example of a small indie developer that is not people, by the way, I'll stress this, as Mr. Black mentioned, the guys running Frost Giant are literally
they're the guys.
Genre-specific veteran, the guys and gals. The dream team. It's the Catalina wine mixer.
Yeah.
Working on a game that is essentially, if you look at it for 4 seconds, StarCraft fucked Warcraft.
It's StarCraft Light. It's StarCraft Light, man.
Yeah.
That's what it is, or like Warcraft Light.
So they are in their element. They are in their wheelhouse, and they've got nearly 40 schmil to their fucking name.
Yeah.
With under 50 people. Or call it 50 people. So, forgive me if I'm a little skeptical that this is because there's some sort of like egregious, unaccounted for, impossibilities in the development process, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and that this is, really necessary money. And the fact that that the CEO pointed out that this is going to be largely used for like the marketing push going into the summer open beta, situation and whatnot. You're going to tell me that the opening marketing push for your game is worth percentages of your company.
I'm going to tell you, these are very, very, very intelligent people.
Obviously, they're intelligent people.
I mean, this guy ran Blizzard.
Yes.
Good Blizzard.
Yes.
Made billions.
Yes.
Personally, and even more.
Yes.
For shareholders and everybody. This man and the men and women that surround him, they are not stupid. And they are not going to devalue or give away tens of millions of dollars in future profits if they feel like this is going to be a massive success. Why wouldn't, especially if you're already worth billions and you could just be like, dude, I'm going
to just front this now.
I'm going to just front. It's $10 million. Let me call my banker up, tell him to wire some fucking money over. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, boo-hoo. That's a tax write-off. We'll take the L. It's a passion project, right? You know, a passion project for me would be like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out and I'm going to go buy a new set of fancy Callaway golf clubs. I haven't golfed in a
golfing.
while.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and splurge. I'm gonna go spend $2,000, $3,000 on a set of golf clubs. I'm gonna go shoot a round of golf in Florida and on the fucking nicest golf course they have, which I'm not doing, by the way. I am going there, but I'm saying this is a passion.
Your knees can't take golf right now.
Fuck no. All right, but let's just say that's like me splurging on like a $5,000 ordeal, which, you know, is a lot of money, but it's like, okay, I work hard. I don't go on many vacations. I can make this thing swing. If I go there and it rains the whole time and my clubs don't get used and I bought the plane tickets and I got there and the golf course is shut down, that sucks. But I'm not going to lose like much sleep over it. I'm going to be disappointed. Yeah, it's a little bit of a financial hit, but like we'll survive. That's like them putting in another $12 million to make this 50 million. And if it works, fucking great. Now we get all the upside in the world. And if it doesn't work, well, it's one less round of golf. I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. I could be looking at it completely wrong. I mean, now I'm just talking to talk, but like at the same time, dude, it's not. Why?
Doesn't show a lot of faith in your own product, no?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And maybe that's because maybe he already, or they collectively already put in $20 million themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
actually just don't know.
That would be worse for me if you're now pushing 60 mil and you're going, oh, we could use some more money. We use some more money for this.
Yeah, who knows, right? And these are things that I think when they put out financials and things like that, you'll be able to actually see. Do I think that they're scam artists or like?
No, God, no.
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 The complete opposite. But it's just like this doesn't. Do they believe in their game?
It's just the optics are weird.
The optics are very weird. They're very weird. This is not a Star Citizen. This isn't any of that. I'm just a bit concerned and confused from just this news that you just told me.
Yeah.
And maybe there's more to it that we don't know. It's very possible. But anyway, it is what it is.
All right, let me rattle out some quick news, Mr. Black, just some bullet points, and then we'll hit on up to a sponsor segment and roll on in. I know, we are burning. Elden Ring's DLC, I already mentioned this earlier, but Shadow of the Erd Tree was announced this week with a lengthy trailer. Looks like a massive chunk of content. And like I said as well, that's good because they're going to charge $40 for it. Pro tip, it's going to be worth $40. No Man's Sky released another free update called Omega and provided an extended free play weekend for new players to try the game out, which went over quite well. It does feel like they're getting ready, though, to start winding down on No Man's Sky so that they can put more manpower behind their recently announced game Light No Fire, which is basically using the tech from No Man's Sky and expanding it to a single large planet-sized situation. They had the trailer for that back at the Game Awards. And I think that this probably marks, it's even called Omega. It feels like there's some finality to it. I think that this is going to mark the beginning, not of the end of the game. Like it's not like that, but like you're maybe not going to see massive updates on a quarterly basis anymore. They're probably going to start to slow down to put more manpower on their other game. Sadly, the creator of Suikoden, Yoshitaka Moriyama, passed away this week due to complications with an ongoing illness. And so, rest in peace, King. Suikoden, baller, old school JRPG, to say the least. Wasn't my cup of tea, but it's one of the most heralded of that genre. Good timing for that Sony announcement I was mentioning earlier, as well as the layoff from their layoffs and shutdowns, because today, as of this podcast recording, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is launching, which means my entire Twitter timeline is probably going to be coated in Tifa titty pictures for the next 4 to 6 weeks. They've already been there. It's just going to get worse.
What chunk of the game does this one do?
This is, okay, so I don't know with certainty because they gave the demo, right? And so with the demo, you can see the world map and interact with the world map a bit. And people were trying to figure out how to map that map onto like the old world map to see what exactly we're fucking working with. Gotcha. It does look fucking huge. How much of it actually results in content, not a fucking clue. People seem to be saying that to platinum the game, so to like do all the trophies, somewhere between 1 to 150 hours, which means the standard game is probably going to be more like 50, I would say, 50 hours. Yeah. And it's just chock full of fucking mini games and stuff, because this is the one that will have the golden saucer and things along those lines. So
now, when you played the first one, when you install this one, you basically just continue. You know what I mean? Like you save file and then you just put it right in and you just continue where you left off.
It does not touch anything from your first game, which is super weird to me. You don't carry anything over from your old files or anything of that nature. Really, no plot point, because there's no choices, not like Mass Effect, really. So there's nothing like that, so you don't get anything.
Yeah, but what about all the gear that you have and stuff?
It does not matter.
Your level?
No.
All that?
No.
Fuck that, man. Fuck that! That's
these are
dumb!
Each one of these are completely fucking standalone.
That's fucking dumb, bro. That's so dumb. What do you start back at level 1?
Yeah.
Fuck that, bro. What the fuck? That is dumb as shit.
Yes.
That is dumb as shit.
I agree.
That is, come on. And you know why they do that shit? They do that shit so that people that didn't play the first one
can just pick this one up. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, at least give the option. Scale the bitch up. If somebody's new, you want to start fresh, start a new game, or take your one, put it in there, and continue.
Dude, with Mass Effect, that's what they did. If you had it, you could move your choices over. Bruh. If you didn't, they'd let you watch a recap, and then they'd let you make your choices as you would have in the original game, so that you could still start with the choices from some. And that shit's from like 2008, bro. Hey,
better than what Final Fantasy's doing, man. Better than what Final Fantasy's doing.
Fuck me, dude.
What can you do? But
anyway, that's out today. I'll be playing it, and probably, I don't know, I'm hoping I like it more than the first, because I don't know if I can drag myself across, my nuts on broken glass one more time here. It's fucking brutal.
You know you will.
Probably. Yeah. And Last of Us director Neil Druckmann, who spends more time in Hollywood than he does behind a keyboard making video games these days, says he doesn't think that he has many more big games left in him. Which honestly makes sense, because most of these games are taking 8 fucking years to make anyway, and so really you only got about 4 games in your entire career that you can make. This guy has made 2.
Better than most.
Well, he's made 2, but then he's remade those 2 like 8, 9 times. So, it depends on how you want to math that one out, I guess, at the end of the day. Speaking of 8 years to make a game, as I mentioned earlier as well, 11 years of development later, Skull and Bones, the quadruple A, as Yves Guillemot said on the earnings call, the quadruple A experience, the first one to market ever. If this is what we can expect from quadruple A, we're fucked. It's released and it's bad. Don't play it. Don't buy it. For the love of God, do not support that game. I feel bad. Dude, 11 years. Somebody put this really in a really interesting way. When this came out, it was a developer. So like from the perspective of a developer, when people graduate and they're getting out and they're putting their resumes out and they join a new project, And they've got a couple of different things that they can latch themselves onto. You know, they're putting in their resumes, and they get back and they're like, okay, Ubisoft is now is going to hire me. I'm getting put on Skull and Bones. Let's go. And you're new. You have no experience. You're being put right into this game. And you spend a third of your career on the first project you ever did leaving school so that when this game finally launches and your ass leaves, because Ubisoft has a thing that if you leave too early, you don't get credits. So people are staying on until this bitch launches. And internally, apparently, they kept saying it's just going to be one more year. It's going to be one more year. It's going to be one more year. It's going to be one more year. And now you are a junior dev with 11 years of experience on one game.
And 4 kids. Jesus Christ, man.
And so your resume literally says school, Skull and Bones. And that's like your entire resume. And they're like, haven't you been in the industry for over a decade? And you go,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I have.
Like, that's terrible. That's fucking brutal. And then last but not least, the last Epoch and then Helldivers 2 continue to prove that B and A tier titles, not this quadruple A garbage, continue to outperform and can outperform many of the AAA titles, as both have weathered their server issues to sustain huge concurrent player counts post-launch. Like I said, I think so far, last Epoch topped out at around 270,000. They averaged out to about 200,000 during their daily peaks these days, as people continue to play through. And then I think Helldivers had to cap their servers at 450,000 people, so there was long queue times to get in. But just so many people trying to get into that one. Neither of these games are AAA. Neither of these games are necessarily made by big publishers for $700 million a pop. Just insane. Apparently now the servers can do or add about 700,000 for Helldivers 2. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of people. And so I just want to once again, I am here to remind the corporate world that spending 8 years and $300 million to try to produce a game that you think is going to be the next Fortnite, when you could be making like 10 to 15 smaller games, 1 or 2 of which that will pop off and do way more than the shit fucking game that you've just spent a decade of some poor developer's life to fucking make.
Dude, I think what they need to do, and we'll end it with this, but I think what they need to do is they need to put out 3 to 5 of these smaller passion projects that are good.
Yes.
While they're doing their bullshit that inevitably will fail to make up for the losses that they have.
Yes.
And then eventually they do that enough, they're gonna go, why in the fuck are we making these
massive games?
Big fucking massive piles of dog shit.
Dude, 4 years used to be like, oh my god, that's taking forever. That was the Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
That was a decade.
4 years or something like that.
Come up with an idea. By the time it comes out, nobody gives a fuck.
No.
Everybody's already moved on to like 15 different things.
10
You've
fucking years.
You've missed the mark. Crazy, bro.
Insane.
It's crazy.
And on that note, Mr. Black, sell us out real quick on our wonderful sponsor.
We got patreon.com/lagtv. Head on over there. Throw money at the screen. If you guys want to support us directly, you can do that. We also have NordVPN. Big thank you, everybody that's been supporting NordVPN and grabbing that subscription. We have re-signed with them now for another several months. So we do appreciate, because you guys have been buying those subscriptions using that link in the description. That is nordvpn.com/OTT. Make sure you guys go grab a 2-year subscription. Get 4 extra months when you get that. Massive discount. Stay safe. Stay anonymous on the internet. Watch different regions of Netflix and other streaming services at the click of a button. And it's super easy to use. My dad uses it. I use it on the regular. I use it on my smartphone. You can use it on your Mac, your PC, your laptop, your iPad, your smart TV. It virtually connects to anything and everything. It is literally one click. You're in. You're good to go. You can game on the server, stream and game at the same time. No bog down. I never get random cutouts ever. And I'm not even BSing you. Like, legit, when I'm on, it's on. Like, I wouldn't stream with it if it did that. So you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Have anonymity when you're on the internet, whether you're traveling, you're at home, wherever, guys. Stay protected. And it's less than half a cup of coffee at Starbucks a month. very affordable. 1 in 3 households have a VPN. And I think pretty dang soon, it's going to be like 1 every 2 households. And then eventually everyone's going to have a VPN. So get one, stay safe, guys, and use NordVPN and think about us. Click on that link and get it. It's that easy. Oh, and it's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So try it out. You don't like it, for whatever reason, get your couple dollars back, because that's all it costs a month. That's it.
And now it's time for
movies and TV.
Not a very long list, Mr. Black, for this week. I've got one on here. Disney and Sony are coming together in a deal that will see Sony handle all of its home entertainment media being handed off to Sony. Blu-rays, DVDs, and other physical media will all be handled by Sony from manufacturer straight through to distribution. Which is at an interesting time because, like, Best Buy, for example, is just removing pretty much all physical media from in-store, like, brick-and-mortar shelves. And so where you're going to be buying these things, I don't fucking know, but obviously there are more stores around than just Best Buy, clearly. And just
Walmart.
Walmart, for example. And Walmart's probably going, shit, you drop it, I'll take it. Whatever. This is I'll just add this as a little interesting sidebar to this. Some technology breakthroughs that just happened. This is in relation to physical media. That are allowing. I won't get too technical about it, but basically it's a fancy new version of discs. Dual layer that can be done in dual layers, sort of like Blu-rays. So you can flip them. Well, if you want to, you can do two-sided or multi-layer. Well, actually, it's more than dual layer, but so you can flip them over. It allows for one disc, they're larger, kind of like, I don't know if they're, I can't remember what the dimensions are. I don't think we're talking like laser disc era, but big, but 200 terabytes on one disc. Physical media. So you could have like your entire life on one disc. I've got like 8 terabytes on my NOS, and that's more. And I'm doing like all of our everything we've ever made, almost everything we've ever made on Lag TV, every review, anything I've ever personally done, music, everything, all on that. 200 terabytes one disc is fucking insane. And so obviously that could be scaled around for various things. The highest capacity Blu-ray right now is I think like 100 gigs. To put that in perspective. And it can be read by current tech. It's not new. It doesn't require some other innovation. So the only thing that would be in question when you have 200 terabytes is if you are putting something like, let's say we get to a point where data amounts for video or whatever does get so insanely huge that you would need something that big, is read speed. How fast can you get a laser to read it? But for general, like, large storage or physical media of any kind, disc, and you're done. And because it's like current material, it's cheap as shit. So they could crank out one of these discs 200 terabytes for like $100 or less. Do you know how much it would cost you to get 200 terabytes of fucking hard drives, put that shit in NOS? You are paying out the nose to make that work. And so, really, really, really impressive tech coming out. That gives me hope for the future where we will still be using physical media to some degree, because ultimately it's kind of like, and Mr. Black would know this because he's got a nice home theater as well at home, and he still uses physical occasionally. It's not all streaming. Even if you have the best streaming service quality imaginable, your 4K, your Disney Plus, 4K, Dolby Vision, the whole 9 yards, and you stream that and you watch it, and then you put a 4K Blu-ray into an actual player and watch it. It is literally, I know it's hard to believe, but even the layperson can see a massive fucking difference between the two. It's essentially like if you ever watched a 1080p Blu-ray disc, that's kind of what 4K looks like in streaming. You're basically getting a Blu-ray 1080p disc. If you go in and you actually watch a proper 4K, it's a different fucking world entirely between the two. And so I hope that, at least for now, until we've solved the data throughput for streaming and services and compression, that it sticks around, and this gives me a little bit of hope. Otherwise, that's all I had for movies and TV, unless you had anything.
I mean, I'm going to see Dune Part 2 on Saturday. I got my tickets. I'm ready.
Oh,
to
that's
fucking
exciting.
Yeah. If you want to, I have an extra ticket, so I'm throwing
Oh,
it out there.
shit.
If you want to go on Saturday, Kayla was gonna go, but mom couldn't make it, so I literally have 2 tickets. So I'm just throwing that out there.
I'll ask
but,
Em if she's
bro,
interested in Dune. If she is, I'll have to decline and go and just go with her.
Saturday, I'm going Saturday afternoon. So
Okay, I'll let you know.
But yeah,
I'll let you know.
I'm fucking pumped. I'm actually, I haven't been this excited for a movie since like I can't.
It's
remember.
supposed to be pretty fucking nutty.
Dude, it's 95% on Rotten Tomatoes
Yeah.
with a ton of reviews, and I have listened to at least 20 different reviewers, non-spoilers, of course. But I would say out of the 20, 17 of them said, all of them pretty much said it's a masterpiece. But like 17 of them said it is the best sci-fi movie ever made.
Better than Interstellar? Better than Interstellar?
Yes.
Fuck!
Yes.
Ah!
They basically said it's Star Wars meets Game of Thrones. And it is the ultimate highbrow, high fantasy. And apparently the visuals in this movie.
Well, the visuals in the first were nuts.
So crazy. Dude, I am so excited for this movie. It's kind of mind-boggling.
You know what
I'm watching the first one tomorrow. So I'm
right,
gonna rewatch
getting ready.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Getting ready. And then come Saturday, I just can't wait. I actually just can't wait. I can't wait. I'm there for it.
What blew me away about the first one was how well they did scale. So lots of movies visually, they have stuff that's really big, but for some reason it doesn't feel big. The object doesn't feel big on screen. In Dune, when that ship comes out, that like pyramid ass fucking whatever the fuck, it looked so much bigger than everything else. The scale looked nuts. I
didn't even see the first one in IMAX. I saw it here at my house. And I still absolutely loved it.
Yes.
I can't imagine what this is going to be like in IMAX.
Oh my God.
I just can't.
The audio alone.
From what I heard, it is mixed. Like you got Hans Zimmer, right? Apparently this thing is mixed like God.
Yes.
And the audio and visuals are so intense that apparently it feels like you're there. Like it's no 3D. Like you're there. They're like, you could taste the sand and you're not even in the desert. Like,
dude,
it's insane.
Who in the fuck is gonna come up and replace Hans Zimmer when he retires eventually?
I don't know.
How?
I don't know. But my body is so ready for this. The cast in this is fucking insane. The movie looks so insane. And apparently the action, there's like infinitely more action in this, and it all feels like, and like apparently it's like Game of Thrones, bro. Like, you don't know who's gonna die. Like in every scene, some shit might go down. Like, I'm so ready.
Especially since you haven't read the books. You have no idea.
Dude, the people that read the books are like, this is incredible. And they're like, yeah, there's a couple of big things that they changed, but they changed for very specific reasons so that it works on the big screen. But pretty much every single, I mean, dude, it's a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. I guarantee you there's a lot of people that read the books.
Yeah.
And if they're still giving this high praise, they're calling this better than Lord of the Rings, the second installment in Lord of the Rings. They're saying it's better than Empire Strikes Back.
Oh.
They're saying that this movie is dude, this is what they're saying.
They're setting this up, man. Do you know how much expectation you have when you say it's better than stuff like that? Like for real?
All of it. And I'm going in with the ultimate high expectations. We're going to see what happens. And I'll be brutally honest. But that first movie was fire.
Oh, of course.
Fire. I'm ready.
I haven't watched or done anything fancy. Em and I have been watching Love is Blind this season. We just watched the episodes that released yesterday. It's a spicy season. It's a fucking spicy season.
I was falling asleep last night, so I have 20 minutes left of the last episode they put in.
Oh, you've been watching it too?
Oh, come on.
Oh.
It's me you're talking about here. Love is Blind. I'm day one Andy.
Bro, can we say
Bro,
say
that bitch, that fucking
that Chelsea and Jimmy?
I hate her. I don't know her, but god damn, that's frustrating to watch, bro.
Oh my god, I've never seen so much victim card pulls in my life.
The
And
amount of
peak, dude. If somebody wanted to look up self-sabotage in the dictionary, it has to be. They go from meeting his, because you've seen when they met the parents, right? So, and the next scene, they're like peak relationship. Everything is going so well. They're literally telling each other, "I've never been so happy." And then immediately after that sentence, she goes, "Hand grenade."
Yep.
And
I know
fucks
you
it up.
fucked her.
Yeah.
I know you fucked her. Dude,
out of nowhere, and this dude was apparently out of the house for an hour and a half, which means
30 minutes had one beer
with transit time.
Crazy as hell.
With transit time. Which transit means he was probably actually at the bar from, like, let's assume he lives 15 minutes away. He was there for 60 minutes,
bro,
with a bunch of people.
Dude, I was raging.
Oh, I was so angry.
I was mad.
And when he said I'm done, I was like, yes! Let's go!
Yes!
He finally grew a scent!
Dude, I was screaming for episodes going, you're a beta! You're a beta! Stop! You're embarrassing yourself! You're a beta! Stop! You're getting gaslit! She's fucking walking all over you. She's crazy as hell!
Yes!
Now you wonder why she's divorced. I mean, Jesus Christ!
Bro.
Dude, I can't. I've seen them all. I have seen every season of every dog shit reality TV show that known to man. She quite literally is the worst person I've seen on any of them.
Yes.
And I've seen some batshit crazy people, men and female, wild. She is on the #1 spot. Megan Fox, bitch, you crazy. She thinks she was Dude, don't even get me going, bro. Don't even get me going. When he set her up, bro, he said, yo, oh, so what? You don't want me to hang? You don't want to hang out with my friends? Like, is that what it is? Because like I can work. She's like, yes, I don't. He's like, okay, cool. Yeah, we're done. I was like, yes. He's growing a pair. Fuck her.
Well, he said, well, he didn't say I'm done yet. He said, I don't know if I can do that. And then she's like, he was like, you sound like you don't think I love you.
Yeah.
And she said, I don't know. He said, are you telling? And he gave her like 3 more chances to correct herself. She wouldn't. And so he said, if you're gonna tell me you don't think I love you, and I've been doing all this shit to what he thinks is the most he can do, he said, I'm done. This is done. We can't go on. And then that stupid fuck.
Oh my god.
Got baited right back in. Again, and you know it's crazy because in that conversation, he reminded her that he's done, and still, somehow, this poor bastard got roped back in, and I said, no.
And
Jimmy,
what does
why?
she do? What does she do? The moment he caves, and he says,
she starts joking about it.
Shit at him again.
Yes.
Right.
Immediately.
Bro, what are you fucking doing? This bitch is crazy. She's actually crazy. She's actually crazy. And he's a dipshit. He's fucking stupid.
I gave up on him.
What are you doing?
Bro?
What are you doing?
Bro?
She threw him under the bus the moment he took her back. Within 5 seconds, bro.
Did you see, I know you got like 20 minutes left, but did you see where he ends up seeing Jess and talking to her?
Yes. I was like, yes, I saw that. So that's where I was getting tired. Bro, he saw her and he was like, and I was thinking to myself, oh, Chelsea's done.
The bag that was dropped has almost never been so big. It's almost never been so big.
Bro, and she wants him.
Yes.
On top of that.
She's still playing the field.
Buddy.
And he said, you're still my #1. Oh, when they were sitting there, did you hear him say that shit?
Oh, I heard him say that.
And I said,
shit grin on my face.
I said, do it, Jimmy.
I was thinking to myself,
do it, Jimmy.
Dude, he needs to stick his tip in there, and he needs to get the fuck away from Chelsea. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you. Dude, there's no way. I'm calling it right now. There's no way this dude marries this chick. There's no way.
I can't,
They're
dude.
gonna get to the altar. She's gonna go first, and she's gonna say yes, and then it's gonna be him, and he's gonna sit there. And I'm telling you, bro, if he says yes, I mean the train wreck. It will be.
No. Jimmy is already the oldest looking 27-year-old man I have ever seen in my life.
Yes.
If he marries this woman, he is going to
done.
look 90 in the next 2 years. There's no universe. Dude, the amount of emotional energy this woman would suck from your soul. When you know what this made me question? Is I don't doubt that she did have bad relationships in the past, but when she said that she was being emotionally abused by all these men, watching her with this guy, I went, I don't know how much I can even believe what you're saying anymore.
She's crazy. She's actually, I'm sorry, and I hate speaking about people like this, but like it's there for everybody to watch. She's actually not ready. Like, I don't know if she's got an issue.
She's got unresolved. She has unresolved trauma that she needs.
Trauma.
She needs therapy.
Trauma.
Bad.
All of it.
Bad.
And she needs all of the therapy.
But
Dude,
she's also a little sociopathic because she gaslights, manipulates.
Oh man, she's the worst, dude. They could quite literally have experienced bliss, and within 5 seconds, she will sabotage everything for no reason.
Yes.
And the guy constantly is like, I love you, baby. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And he's doing it because he feels like he needs to, because she needs validation 24/7. Dude, this guy can't even go to the bar when he's part of a reality show to go meet up with the other reality show people
for an hour
and have a drink for a birthday for an hour. For 1 hour and comes home. Unlike the other dipshit that went out till 1 o'clock in the morning with the other chick. You deserve to get fucking blasted.
Left his phone in the car, but left his watch on, so she tracked the watch.
The guy is so stupid. If you're gonna go and cheat and do some dumb shit,
at least be smart,
right? Dude, you're a fucking dipshit.
That dude's a fucking idiot.
Right to go. She was annoyed by him since the start. Since the very start, she couldn't fucking stand that dude.
She cooked that guy.
Dude, everything that guy did, she was like, "You're annoying the fuck out of me." Like, and she's trying to say it in a nice way, but like everything she says, like, dude, you're a fucking immature dipshit. I can't stand you. And finally, he did some ultimate dumb shit, bro. I thought he was fucking smart. Got caught up. He deserved it. But this other dude, the Jimmy, bro,
Jimmy,
this guy is doing everything he can to fucking make this shit work, and she is just railing on this dude. He can't win an argument, and it's funny because you can tell this guy he's a nice guy. He's passive.
Yes.
But you know it's bad when the nice passive guy cracks. And
well, I said that because he's brushing his teeth. He's brushing his teeth, having walked away from that conversation, and she chases after him and starts pressing him. And I hadn't heard Jimmy raise his voice on camera one time, and finally he doesn't even yell. Like, Jimmy yelling on camera is like a slight fucking raise in volume, but it was enough out of the norm that I went, Jimmy finally found his pair, and he going in, and he did. Yeah. And she started bringing up shit that they talked about off camera. Like the fact that he had admitted to her because she was asking him, and he's being truthful. He slept with one of his girlfriends before, but it was weird, and now they're just friends about it or whatever the fuck. Is honest about it. It was one of the two girls that he had brought to meet her. Clearly he's not hiding shit. And she brings it up on camera, and dude's brushes his teeth and goes, stops brushing.
Did this bitch really just say that? Is she serious? He had a private conversation with her away from the camera to let her know about the relationship. And then she used it as ammo on camera to start an argument. She's like, and then not only that, and he was right, and he called her out on it.
Yes.
He said, "You're fishing."
Yes.
Who told you this shit? Bitch. What the fuck?
And she had nothing. She had nothing.
She had nothing. And all she was doing, well, I heard you were doing this. I heard you didn't hear shit, bitch.
Who
Just
told
nothing
you?
happened.
Who told you?
What she's doing, she's trying to get him to admit to something that he never did. And he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I went for a drink. I was home at a reasonable hour. What the fuck?
I gotta keep it a buck, bro. I gotta keep it a buck.
Yeah.
Keep it a buck. If I'm Jimmy, okay? If I'm Jimmy, and I go through all of that, and I go through that conversation, and I'm putting up with all this shit, and then I get to that fucking party, and Jess walks into the room, I have a serious conversation with myself for a moment. I say, okay, I've got a couple of options here. I could do something here, and I might be a lot happier on the other side. But I'm gonna get judged for this real fucking hard, and I'm on national TV. But I'm already on national TV getting judged hard right now anyway, so do I care? Or two, do I just stick to my guns and be good to this, into this situation, make mom and dad proud? I just introduced her to my parents and go through, and Jimmy went Jimmy went a route that not very many men would have the willpower.
I wouldn't
to take.
I would have saw the other one after all. Listen,
after everything that just happened, if it was good, totally different. Totally different.
Hey,
yes.
You know what? She's a bit more attractive. I get it. Yeah, I got feelings for her still, but hey, I'm committed.
Yes.
This is great. This is what I chose.
She lit that bitch on fire.
Yeah, but no. Not after what Chelsea's been doing the whole time. Bro, as soon as I saw Jessica, the moment I saw her,
dive now.
I would have turned around and I would have said, yo, Chelsea, come here for a second. We're done. It would have been that quick. And you know what? If he really thinks about it, maybe he just doesn't see it because he's in the thick of it.
It may be. It's possible.
But all of America wants him to do exactly that.
Oh, everyone's waiting.
Bro, his parents would want that.
Yes.
The viewers want that.
Yes.
Everybody hates this chick.
Yes.
She's she is Amber Heard light, bro.
Yes.
Without the abuse.
Yeah, the gaslighting is insane.
It's a different type of an abuse. There's no
it's
physical
emotional.
abuse. It's emotional. And it's like, it's abusive. She's crazy. She's crazy. Anyway.
Jimmy.
I cannot wait. I'm going to watch the rest of the episode tonight.
Yeah.
I only have like 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
And then we got to wait another week to get the finales. And my body is ready. My body's ready for the reunion.
Oh.
Like, what the fuck?
Oh my God.
On?
Oh.
Bruh. This season's juicy, man. This is a juicy season.
It's a good season, bro. It's a good season for real. I gotta be honest. It's been a good show. I mean, but man.
You know what sucks about this? Nick Lachey, he no longer says obviously.
They got rid of it.
Obviously, Nick Lachey. He hasn't done that in 2 seasons.
I'm salty.
Told him.
I know. I've been making that joke all the time. Like every time he comes on camera, Em and I are watching the show, I literally say out loud every time, obviously. And I'm Nick Lachey.
Obviously.
Obviously.
He always says the obviously. Obviously. I'm Nick Lachey.
Who wouldn't know about 98 degrees? I'm Nick Lachey.
He probably stopped saying it because everybody, when they saw when he said, "Hey, I'm Nick Lachey," they're probably like, "Obviously."
Yeah.
They probably mean the fuck out of him, bro. Like everywhere he goes, it's probably like, "Obviously, Nick Lachey."
We know who you are, Nick. It's okay. It's okay. But for real, Jimmy, Jesus Christ, get it together.
Jimmy, please.
Anyway, we gotta fucking pick the space. We got derailed hard there. It's time for
tech support.
Patreon.com/LagTV. We're gonna get a couple of these in, but for $5 or more a month, you get a couple of perks. Chiefly, you get to ask us some questions. I put a post up each and every week. If I can see it, because Patreon's app is literally broken right now. I'm going to try and launch that again. What is going on? Is there like some sort of fucking meme happening that I'm not aware of? I literally just posted this ages ago. Please and thank you. That's a chat. Oh, I hate Patreon. Patreon's fucking app so much. There we go. All right, we got it. Yeah, patreon.com/lagtv. Put a post up each and every week just before we do the podcast live for $5 or more a month to get some perks. Chiefly get to ask us some questions on that post, and we give you the answers in the time that we have. Let's see. Trying to find some stuff that we haven't answered. So this is a random one. It'll be an interesting one. Zonix asked, who's the most famous person that you know personally? I don't know if I know. Well, like, beyond having met some people, I don't, it's not like I've got friends who are famous.
Yeah. That,
like, are, like, famous or some shit that I've got them on speed dial. We just met people at, like, events and shit, but we never, like, I don't think either of us really, and you were to more events than I was, but I don't think you know any, like, crazy, and by no, because no indicates, like, you're bordering on friend level of knowledge, or not knowledge, but of relationship. I can't think of...
I can't think of anybody. I mean, you're probably the most famous person I know.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm about as fucking famous as your local grocery store clerk. Let's see. Oh, I think we can answer this really quickly. But Steven asks, is OnlyFans empowering?
I mean, do you want the political version? Do you want the politically correct version?
No, give me your own opinion of it. Nobody's like, what do we got to lose here, really? Listen, here's my take. I'll dive on the grenade first. I'll dive on the grenade first. Okay. I think it's only empowering for the very small number of creators on that platform that are truly comfortable with being and working on that platform. Because there are an enormous amount of people that are on there that are doing it predominantly as a cash grab, and I don't think they've reconciled with themselves the actual
long-term effects
on their life, or just how they feel about it personally. I think a lot of them, when they see the dollar signs, shelve some of their feelings about it, and I think it's a largely toxic, personally, internally for the individual, a toxic industry to be in. I think it's very difficult for people to not have some struggle with that. But there are people that absolutely, when they say that they do and they're comfortable with it and they don't care, there are a small number of people that I truly believe that's 100% accurate, but I just don't think that there's that many of them. For those people, I would say yes. For everyone else that's not in that category, I would say that it's probably doing, you might be making money, but you're weighing that money against everything else that it comes with. And so you're playing a much more calculated game with yourself from a moral standpoint. I think at that point, it's just what you're willing to actually do for that money. It's like anything really that you do for money. Everyone's got a line. Like some people aren't going to do. There's lots of things that somebody could offer you money to do, and you're not going to do it on a moral basis. It's kind of the same thing here. So I think yes, but only I truly believe it's for a very small number of people, and for everyone else, I think it's pretty degrading for themselves, and I think they just ignore it as long as they're making money. Then it works. And honestly, we've talked about this before. It's understandable when you see how many people, because even though there's a flooded market, there's a lot of girls making a lot of money that they wouldn't make in a regular job. Outright. And in current era, money is hard to come by for a lot of people, and this is an avenue for people to put food on the table that they would struggle to do otherwise. And so I don't judge them for it. I just hope that the people that do it are not harming themselves on some other level to just because of the money that is possibly there for them. So do I think it's empowering? Not inherently. I don't think it's inherently like just because you can make money, woo. I don't think that makes anything empowering necessarily by default. I think there's some caveats that come along with it, just like anything else that you can make money with.
Yeah. Well, my thing is I can't tell people what is empowering to them and what isn't. So, ultimately, I'm sure that the platform is very empowering for men and women, very specific people. I get that. But I also think it's more empowering for bank accounts and porn addiction. And ultimately, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, let's just call it what it is, man. It's porn.
Well, it is porn. Oh, it's 100% porn. And so
it's porn.
It comes down to like, what is your comfort level being a part of that machine?
Yeah, and that's all individuals, and everybody has their own reasons for doing whatever. It's none of my business, and it's their body. It's their choice. You know, ultimately, I'm not going to hate on somebody for doing what they do. I would never date somebody that's on OnlyFans. I would never. I mean, I'm married anyway, so I don't even have to have that option. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, man. I think it's a net negative, man. I just don't think it's a very.
I think it's a net negative as well.
I truly think it's, but I also understand that it's helped a lot of men and women. Take themselves out of bad situations. Maybe they put it into a worse in a different way. But once again, it's their lives, it's their body, it's their choice. They have the right to do it. I would be mortified if it was my daughter or my son. I would be very upset. I would feel like a failure of a father. I would do everything in my power to tell my child that this is not what you have to do to make a living. And ultimately, if they still decided after my guidance that that's what they wanted to do, I'd still love them, but I would be very disappointed.
Yeah.
Very disappointed. Broken. Absolutely broken. That you've gone to this place to pay bills. Or some people just to do it. And I think for the ones that want to do it, that enjoy doing it, then by all means go for it. But man, would I feel awful and do feel bad for the ones that are trapped in it. Just like any other addiction, drugs, alcohol, gambling, whatever it is, the sex industry is a very dark, crazy place. I can't imagine the DMs that some of these men and women get and the things that they have to endure and listen to for money. It's tough, but yes, it does empower some people. And not all OnlyFans is porn related. There's a lot of OnlyFans channels that have nothing to do with showing off their body and, taking pictures and videos and things like that, or just making porn. There's like legit fan accounts where they do stuff like you and I do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, there's some good and there's a lot of bad, but hey, it's on the individual.
All right, we'll do two other quick ones here and call it. What is your favorite? This comes from Seth. There were some other good questions here, so if we didn't get to your questions this week, guys, save them and put them on the post for the next podcast. We're just tight on time today. What is your and we got sidetracked by drama television, which is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we're gonna get sidetracked on something.
That's the one.
Let it be that. That's the one.
Seth asks, "What's your favorite Lord of the Rings film of the I guess? Well, I'm gonna say it's probably of the trilogy because sure shit not gonna be one of the Hobbit films. So
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm just gonna say the first one.
Yeah.
The first one has such the music when you first hear the music in the Shire and Gandalf is rolling in on the cart. That shit hits different. You hear that same track multiple times throughout but when you get at that first place and the world isn't set on fire yet, like that's it's hard for me to. They're all incredible. They're fucking all incredible movies, but that's probably it for me.
They are. I'm gonna simply go with the Return of the King just to be different.
Yeah.
The second one was not my favorite. Was not my favorite. The third one, the climax, it's pretty fucking good. But the first one is so special, man. It's just it's hard to pick. It's they're all great. They're all great.
This is a random fun fact. You remember the part of Lord of the Rings where Gandalf comes back as Gandalf the White?
Yep.
And it's that super bright fucking Jesus ass moment.
So
that was apparently, as far as like HDR, like high dynamic range or like nits of brightness, that was apparently edited to be, what was it? It's something insane. It's like over 2,000 nits or some insane fucking level. So we're only just getting a handful of TVs now coming up. They're expensive that will actually be able to tone map for that brightness level for you to see the original artistic intent of just how fucking bright Gandalf was coming into the fucking room. Like that's crazy. And that movie is from fucking like 20 something years ago. So everyone for the last 20 years, you've been seeing like a white amorphous blob on your TV that's like clipping. That's not what it's supposed to look like. There's more going on in there, but you won't be able to see it until you buy a TV in another fucking 10 years. Then you'll be able to appreciate the original artistic intent of Gandalf coming back. Finally, Gulth asks, who is your most iconic video game NPC? Fuck, there's a lot of good NPCs, bro.
Bro, I'm gonna go with the dude from Skyrim, man. That got the arrow to the knee.
Oh, that is a good one.
I mean, bro, that shit was
the guard.
Just
the guard. I used to be an adventurer like you until I took an arrow to the knee.
Yeah, that has been everywhere, dude.
That's true. That's true.
It's iconic,
man. There's so many. I want to pick one that's kind of like not obscure, but a little different. When I think of NPCs, like kind of iconic NPCs, honestly, I think the Legend of Zelda franchise has almost the most number of iconic NPCs. So like, Frank Miller, oh Jesus.
There's a person in GTA that anyway, there's a Frank Miller in there and he's a fucking anyway.
An NPC. So I would say, like, for example, the guy that's in the windmill that teaches you the Song of Storms, like that guy is iconic, or the Happy Mask salesman from Zelda is another really good NPC. So there's like a lot of really like dope NPCs from Zelda. So I'll go with one of those two. Or Jib from Morrowind, the first guy that you meet on the boat when you wake up. That guy That guy goes on to apparently canonically kill every cliff racer in Morrowind, and they make him a saint. Like canonically, and he shows up in later, like in Elder Scrolls Online and shit. The Saint Jib, he's actually been created a saint because he killed all the fucking cliff racers, which is like an inside joke because everyone hated the fucking cliff racers. And so yeah, anyway, so that's another good one. But that's where we're gonna end it. We gotta go and do other stuff. Mr. Black's got a busy day coming up here. He's got some meetings that he's gotta be in for. We got StarCraft to tackle amongst other things as well. So we'll leave you with that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast this week, and as always, theoretically, barring more random power outages and birthdays, we should theoretically also be back next week. And until then, stay safe out there, have a good one, and peace!
Peace!